The spring season of anime this year has been able to keep the hype going, which was left over by the winter of anime, which had many great shows like Jujutsu Kaisen and Mushoku Tensei and more. I'm happy to say that spring also has many shows that I really enjoy, which were able to exceed my expectations. But of course, also there were some that didn't really interest me as much as I would have liked. So today, in this video, I'll be rating the anime that I have watched so far in this season from worst to best. Also, I'm not going to be adding the shows that were left over from the previous winter of anime, like So I'm a Spider So What, and other shows just like it. So, with the 19 shows that I have been watching this season, I believe that I have a good grasp on which shows are good and which are not. But remember that this is my personal taste and opinion, so if you do like the shows that I deem not that good or lower down the list, then it's okay because everyone has different tastes anyway. So without further ado, let us start with the spot at number 19, which is Godzilla SP. So the reason why I placed this show so low is because its story is all over the place and I wasn't able to keep my attention as it was boring from the start to where it is now. Also, the show kept on getting more and more complicated as they introduced more and more science shenanigans that were just words that I could barely understand or even care about. And a main reason why I disliked this show was they didn't give me any reason to care about the characters, the plot or anything at all. The characters were stale, that is why I am placing this show at the bottom of the list at number 19. So, moving on to number 18, we have Osonana Jimmy Love Comedy. So, this show got the number 18 spot because it was your generic harem anime, with the only difference being that all the girls who liked the protagonist were his childhood friends. This show is nothing special as basically all of it is just cringy comedy that was unnecessary with a plot that is just as boring but at least had some fan service and an understandable story that gave the edge over Godzilla SP. The only reason why I think anyone would want to watch this show after seeing reviews about it is if they wanted to waste their time or find some guilty pleasure. So with that, let's move on to the number 17 spot, which is SSSS Dino Xenon. So this is another show in the Quadruple S series, and just like its predecessor SSSS Gridman, this show is about big robots fighting kaiju. But this show also has decent characters and story. However, a downside is that it took quite a while to get interesting. The series kept hinting at many things that shows that there is more to this show than just fighting monsters. I'm glad to say that in the recent episodes, the show is starting to get better, but mainly in episode 10, where a kaiju captured most of our characters and actually showed their past. This episode mainly focuses on Yume's past with her sister, but they also showed Gauma 5,000 years ago when he was still on good terms and working alongside the eugenicists, and we learn that they were betrayed by their nation. We also saw Yomogi, who is the only one wasn't captured, going around trying to break them out from the dreams, which actually reminded me of Gurren Lagann when everyone was trapped in the false dream and Kamina had to come to break Simon and the rest out from the dream. So overall, this show started slow, but it's beginning to get better, which is why I'm placing it at number 17 right now. So moving on to number 16, we have Nagatoro. So before the show came out, I've been told that this show will be very good and entertaining. However, after watching the show myself, I think I may have overestimated it because of what others have been saying about it. So after watching, I think that it's a very basic show that has its comedy and a hint of romance, but nothing else. As someone who prefers watching shows that has an interesting plot and unique story, I have to say that Nagatoro is not one of them, which is why it's not higher up on the list. Most of the jokes are barely even funny and mostly cringy. The only reason why I placed it at number 16 is because the romantic aspect is actually kind of cute and made me want to see their relationship progress as the story continues, but it will most probably take a really long time to even get anywhere. But overall, I see this as a mediocre show with barely laughable jokes, and sure, it can still improve, but with a few episodes left, I doubt that it will improve that much. So let's move on to the next spot at number 15 with the anime Kyoku Full Dive RPG. So this anime is mostly a comedy anime with some serious aspects to it. So the main character is someone who gave up on his athletic dreams and is now just playing VR games to pass the time. However, when he tries to buy a new game that he has been waiting for, he was tricked and ended up buying a terrible game that is known for its realism. After playing this game for a while, he realizes that he can work towards a new goal, which is finishing this VR game that barely anyone had finished. But we all know that the main reason why he even wants to finish the game is because he wants to get the chance to marry the girl with big boobs, if you know what I mean. So the thing I like about this anime is that it introduces a character that is already flawed from the real world and was put into this VR world which he thought would be an escape from reality. But in fact, it just reminds him of his failures, which makes him realize how far he has fallen ever since he shamed himself in a race that he took part in the past. This show surprisingly kept me entertained, which is why I'm placing it at the number 15th place. So, at number 14, we have Mayuri Mashita Irumakun, Season 2. So, I might be a little biased here because I have read the manga and knew that one of my favorite arcs will be in this season. So, the arc I'm talking about is the one where Iruma supposedly goes into his evil cycle and bands the class together to challenge their teacher, Kalego Sensei, and claim the Demon King classroom. This was the first arc that I really enjoyed because we get to see a new and cooler side of Iruma, who seems to be in control of everything but still has his usual kind personality within him. This show in general is a comedic show which has some cringy jokes. However, season 1 made me want to read the manga, which in my book is something that deserves some praise since I don't really go out of my way to find manga, which is why I'm putting it at number 14. So moving on to number 13, I have chosen to place Tensura Nikki. So this show is basically just a filler for the slime anime while we wait for season 2 part 2. The reason why I placed this show at number 13 is because I was glad to see that they were bringing more life to the city of Tempest, as it shows Rimuru introducing festivals and celebrations to the town, which makes the viewers more knowledgeable about the town and connected to it, because we basically see the town's growth as time goes by. Also, I think this is a really good concept because it kind of expands the world and makes it feel more realistic rather than an anime that doesn't really focus on the smaller aspects of the show and the world. And as for someone who enjoys watching the slime anime, I'm happy to watch this show anytime. So moving on, at the number 12 spot, we have Eden Zero. This may be another biased opinion because I have read the manga beforehand, but after watching the anime, I'm glad that they are doing this show better than what they did with Fairy Tail. So if anyone doesn't know, this show is basically like One Piece but in space. Now hold on a minute. The reason why I say it's like One Piece is mainly because the characters are trying to find something that is really hard to find, and everyone else also wishes that they could find it, but then they think that it's a legendary thing. So our characters are using a ship to travel, specifically a spaceship, just like Luffy and his crew using a ship to travel through the seas. So with the spaceship, they travel around and gain new members along the way, just like in One Piece. I know that this comment alone may get me in trouble from One Piece fans, but the similarities are unmistakable. For Eden Zero, they are trying to find this being called Mother, while using a spaceship called the Eden Zero to find her. The power system in the show is also pretty decent as their growth is consistent and doesn't just come out of nowhere. And even if they get a power up out of nowhere, they still have the power up just like when Shiki and Homura gain the ability to use overdrive. But they still have to go through training, which is quite an improvement from what happened with Fairy Tail where they just kept getting stronger and stronger, but then after the fight, they didn't even improve and didn't even get stronger. Like for example, Natsu, he keeps getting stronger, but he's always weaker than Urza, which is quite annoying actually. So I hope everyone gives this anime, Eden Zero, a try and a chance, because as I read the manga, it just keeps getting better and better as the story continues. So whoever dislikes Fairy Tail, I have to assure you that this show is better than Fairy Tail. So moving on to number 11, we have Shaman King. So this may be another case of me hearing from other people that this show is good, which made me overestimate it. But from what I've seen, it's a pretty standard shonen anime so far. I know that this season will have 50 plus episodes, so I understand that there is a chance that it will exceed my expectations as the story continues. But for now, it's going to be staying at the number 11th spot, because so far it's been your typical basic shonen anime that has competitions, that has fights, that has friendship and stuff like that, and hasn't really piqued my interest that much. But I will continue to watch it because I know that it has a chance to surprise me as the story continues. And finally, now we have reached the top 10, with number 10 being I've Killed Slimes for 300 Years. So the thing about this show is that it is basically a laid-back anime, and this show makes me happy and laugh while I watch it. Surprisingly, this show has actually made me laugh a couple times so far, just because of how ridiculous some scenes are. Honestly, I didn't think much about this show at first, but after the story began to develop after each episode, it became quite enjoyable and is something I look forward to watching, which is why it is placed above all the other shows before it. Also, I love the character interactions between each character and how they work off one another really improves the vibe of the show. So if you guys just want to watch something that is lighthearted, fun and laid back, I really recommend this show to those of you who want it. And with that, at number 9, we have Sentoin Hakenshimasu. The main reason why I place this show above at number 9 is because this show has been able to make me keep coming back for more because of how fun, entertaining and ridiculous this show is. This show really reminds me of Konosuba because of how there is a group of idiots going around messing things up and somehow still managing to succeed. I really love the comedy, and the icing on the cake is the opening and ending songs, which has such a nice vibe to it that amplifies how ridiculous the show is. As the show has been able to actually make me enjoy its jokes and humor, I feel that it deserves the number 9 spot. So at number 8, we have Seijo no Marioku, or The Saint is Omnipotent. So this show is basically also a light-hearted show that follows our main character who is transported into a magical world and from then on works as a potion maker and also a saint. As the show progresses, I believe that we can assume that it will slowly transition from a calm laid-back show to a more serious one, with how the story is progressing and introducing more dangers, and our main character beginning to get better in her use of magic. This is mostly a show about the interactions between the characters and how they play a part in the overall story. So if anyone would like to watch some romance and laid back, fun, calm show, then this is the show for you. So without slowing down, let's move on to the number 7th spot, which is being held by Higewa Soru. So this show is one with full of drama and serious elements to it. It deals with how people can change due to others around them, which leads to a false sense of right and wrong, to a story of acceptance and letting go, and knowing that to do what's right, you have to face your problems instead of hiding from them. Personally, I don't know about you guys, but I prefer to see our two main characters as having a guardian type relationship rather than them being lovers, because it just feels so wrong, and I actually feel sorry for the others who actually like the guy but are being outdone by some kid. So I hope the story will keep on getting better as the show continues and reaches climax. So I believe that everyone should watch this show because it has something for everyone. So before we move on to the number 6 spot, I want to say that the remaining shows at the top are shows that have been able to tug at my heartstrings and keep exceeding my expectations after every episode. So without further ado, the show at the number 6th spot is Fruits Basket, the final season. So since this is the final season, it really pays off many of the story plot points that have been going on, and it feels really good to see the conclusions of such a great show. The best episode of this season to me is probably episode 8 and 10, where everything seems to start getting resolved and the curse which has made everyone suffer is starting to break. And we finally get to see the reason why Akito is who she is. Because for someone who is always told that she is special, she feels as if she doesn't fit in with the other Zodiac members, which led her to being a demanding and unreasonable person because she didn't want her connection with them to be severed. Of course, the best part about this episode is seeing Kyo and Toru revealing their secrets to one another, and we finally understand why Kyo has been trying to distance himself from Toru. It's such a great moment that reveals many things and just makes me appreciate the show much more. But I wouldn't want to continue spoiling anything, so let's move on to the number 5th spot, which is a new anime called Shadow's House. Honestly, I didn't know what to think when I started this anime at first, but all I knew was that I loved the opening and ending songs, which helped me continue to watch it. And as the story continues and progressed, it began to keep getting better and better as we start to learn more about the shadows and the hierarchy that they have within the house. We also meet new characters along the way and other shadow masters with all different personalities and characteristics, with most of them actually being decent people as we start to get to know them better. This show keeps getting better after each episode as we keep getting introduced to new concepts that give a certain ominous yet optimistic feeling that everything will go well in the end. But there will of course be a lot of obstacles for our characters to face. I really recommend this show to anyone who is still on the fence about watching it, because once you watch it, you will feel happy that you did. So next at number 4, we have Tokyo Revengers. So honestly at first, I hadn't started watching this show from the moment its first episode came out, and after hearing all the hype about it, I started to feel as if it was an overrated show. But after I started watching it when it was already at episode 7, I realized how entertaining this show is and that it deserves its hype. This show is basically about our main character who has the ability to send his consciousness back in time, just like in Steins Gate. And he uses this ability to try and save his friends from their deaths in the current by changing certain moments in the past. It's a really good show and I highly recommend it to everyone. This show was able to make me care about the characters and Takemichi's relationship with them. And I have to say, Hinata is definitely best girl for how supporting and amazing she is for Takemichi. So this show has amazing characters in general and almost all of them feel important. So moving on to the number 3 spot, I have chosen 86. 86 is such an amazing story with an amazing concept. The way they handle the characters makes me really care about what happens to them and especially because of the discrimination that the 86 face and are forced to fight in the war that they didn't even start for the country that despises them. Our main character Lina is someone who believes that they should stop this discrimination, but with no way to do anything, the only thing she can do for them is to support them as best she can and honor each one of them. The most heartbreaking episode so far is episode 9, where everyone goes behind enemy lines and the connection is cut between them and Lina, and we see her break down in tears. What a great show. I really want everyone to watch this show and know how amazing it is, so I don't really want to give away too many spoilers, so let's move on. At the number 2 spot, we have Vivi. So Vivi is a story set in a world where AI are commonplace and that in the future, they will turn against humans. So the story is basically about these two AI fighting to change the future by changing specific moments in the past. Personally, the thing that made me place this show at number 2 is because of its spectacular animation and choreography, and also the way they show the passage of time and the rise and fall of Vivi's singing career really shows that despite being basically immortal, time will eventually make everything forgotten no matter how legendary someone is or was. This tells us that nothing in this world is timeless, and I've always known that immortality is not something that ensures eternal happiness, but this shows even amplifies that by showing Vivi starting to lose her purpose after a century of functioning as she desperately tries to find something to work towards. To me, this show depicts a story of how everything will eventually disappear. For example, in the story, how humanity will inevitably be killed off by AI. Of course, I don't know the ending of the story yet since I'm making this before the last episode, so to everyone watching, please share this anime to all who watches anime, because it's something that I believe everyone would enjoy. So, last but definitely not least, at the number 1 spot, I have chosen Fumatsuno Anata. From the moment the first episode aired, it was able to exceed all of the other first episodes I have ever watched to date. The first episode alone was able to make me place it at first place. But as the story continues and we see the growth of our main character and learn more about the world and the dangers lurking around, and meeting new characters with each of them bringing a new unique personality to the table, adds to the overall greatness that this show has so far. I could go on and on about how great this show is, from the amazing way they wrote the characters to make us viewers attached to them in just one episode, to the sad departure of the characters that we have grown attached to. Also, how we keep learning about who our main character is and the abilities he can do after gaining stimulation from his environment around him and the people he meets on his journey of self-discovery and purpose. This amazing show deserves a 10 out of 10, is the best show that has come out of 2021 thus far, and has a good chance of winning Anime of the Year. I really hope that everyone who hasn't seen this anime yet to check it out and join me on the journey that this show will take us on. I'm so glad that this anime will have 20 episodes, and I hope that it will go on to have more seasons in the future. So with that, I hope everyone who watched to the end can comment down below what their favorite anime this season has been and why. I'm open to see anyone's opinions, and if their number 1 isn't Fumetsu no Anata, then they're wrong. Just kidding. But remember that this is just my personal opinion after watching all these anime up to date. So with that, I guess it's a good time to call it a day and end this video here. For those of you who enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and for those of you who want to continue watching my videos, please hit the subscribe button because it would really mean a lot and would motivate me to make more videos. I know that it took a while for this to come out, but that was because I had to take exams which occupied most of my time. Thank you all for helping me reach 100 subscribers. It really means the world to me. And with that, see you guys in the next video. Bye!